Good morning, my third grade scholars. How are you guys? Are you enjoying spring break, or did you enjoy your spring break? When I recorded this, it was still spring break going on. But now we are back to work. So this week we are going to take a little break because of Winn-Dixie. So you know what that means. We now go back to our girls in One Crazy Summer. Delphine, Vanetta, Fern, and Miss Patty Cake. So we are now going to be reading to find out what's going on with these girls. Now I need to explain something to you guys. Every homeroom was on a different chapter. And we know that that was because of it just depended on how much we got through in class each day. So what I have decided to do, because I can't create a ton of videos, I have decided to go back a few chapters to the chapter that the last group was on. So for some of you, it'll be brand new story information. And then for some of you, it'll be a repeat, which is fine. It'll be like a refresher course. And it's fine because we have not been in school now for over a month. I think it's been like 4 weeks now, 3 or 4 weeks. And so it'll just kind of refresh your memory. I am going to have an assignment that's going to go along with the reading. So even if you've read it before in class with me, you still need to listen and read it again so that you can do the assignment. Also, I forgot to mention in my last video that not only should you be doing the work that I am assigning here, but you should also be doing the work on iReady or logging into iReady as much as you can. It doesn't have to be every day, but at least 3 or 4 times a week, you should be getting on iReady and completing the assignments there. Now, some of you will see that you have teacher assigned work on iReady, and some of you will have just the generated computer assigned work. Either one is fine. They are all according to the levels where you should be, and you can just complete the assignments that are scheduled for you to do there. I am also going to be starting something new this week. I'm going to be assigning work on Raz Kids. I am going to upload another complete video showing you how to log on to Raz Kids, what your username is, what your password is. I'm going to try and make it as simple as possible for all students, for all 3 homerooms. So I'm not going to talk much about that here. I'll upload another video. I'm still trying to work out the kinks and getting the differentiated work assigned to you guys. So we'll talk more about that later, but you all will have plenty to do for ELA. I'm going to do the lesson here. I'm going to have you all go on iReady, and then you're also going to have another option, which is Raz Kids, but I will give you that information later. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Of course, we're going to go over some vocabulary words first. Then we are going to read the story, and then you guys are going to see what your assignment is going to be at the end. Now, if your parents have access to email, when you are done your assignments, because I do want to see exactly what you guys are doing, your parents can email me, letting me like take a screenshot of your work or a picture of your work, and then email me the assignments so that I can see what you guys are doing. I would love to read what you guys are writing, seeing how your brain is working, and seeing what you're thinking about the story. So my email address is Pickett, so Pickett, Campbell, Campbell. So that's all one word, no dashes, no periods. Pickett Campbell at Widener.edu. Please email me your work so that I can get a chance to see how well you guys are doing. I miss you all. I'm so glad that we all got a chance to do Zoom last week. For those who missed it, hopefully you can get on the next time. We are going to be scheduling another session, so we'll send that information out as soon as we have it. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get started with our work for the week. Talk to you soon. Protest. a statement or action to express that you disapprove or disagree to something. This word can be a noun, which is a person, place, or thing, or it could also be a verb, which is an action word. Here you're going to see two examples. One, the word as a noun, and then the other sentence will be the word as a verb. The first sentence, Jasir led a protest to change the rules in the cafeteria. Here I'm using the word as a thing. The next sentence, using it as a verb, would be Jasir will protest the rules in the cafeteria. So here he's actually doing an action. Soul, S-O-L-E. Please do not confuse this with S-O-U-L, like our spirit. This type of soul has several different meanings. S-O-L-E could mean the bottom of your shoe or your foot, but we are not going to use it this way in this read aloud. For One Crazy Summer, the word soul, S-O-L-E, means not shared with others, alone, or only. Here is your example. Jakai is the sole member of the reading club, but Mrs. Pickett is trying to recruit more members. So here it means Jakai is the only member of the reading club. Flummoxed. As you can see, we have red letters. That means that we have a suffix on our base word. ED, if you remember, means something that happened in the past. So our base word is flummoxed, but our whole word here is flummoxed. The word means puzzled or confused. I could tell James was flummoxed by the unexplained noise we heard down the hall. Civics. Civics means the study of the rights and duties of citizenship. For example, Kendall paid close attention when studying civics so she could know what she was able to do in her community and what she couldn't do. Burrowed. I know this sounds like the word borrowed, like, can I use your pencil and I'll give it right back? But this word is different. It's spelled with a U instead of another O. Burrowed, again, we have that ed suffix, which means in the past. It means to press close to something in order to hide or to get comfortable. So our example sentence says, Caleb's baby sister was burrowed into his side and covered by her blanket. It means she was like nestled up against him. Freedom fighter. This word means a person who takes part in a struggle, and sometimes it could be a violent struggle, against rules and laws that unjustly or unfairly inflict hardship to some groups of people. Back in the day when African Americans couldn't vote, freedom fighters risked going to jail in order to change that law. So freedom fighters are people who stand up for what they believe to go against a law that is already set in place. And our last word, hinges. Hinges are the movable piece on a door, gate, or lid that helps them swing open and close. When Trayvon was playing football, he ran into the gate and knocked it off its hinges. You'll notice this week I did not ask you to pause and use the word yourself in a sentence to someone who's standing or sitting next to you. The reason why is because I want you to try and use these words this week by writing them in sentences. A lot of times when we write things instead of speaking them out loud, it kind of sticks to our brain a little better. So I want you guys to take all of these vocabulary words that we've gone over today, and I want you to practice using them in sentences, in your own sentences. Please don't use the ones that I use, but I want you to write them down. You can even try putting them in a story if that makes it a little better for you. But if not, that's fine. Just make sure that you're writing them in sentences. Don't forget the words are protest, soul, flummoxed, civics, burrowed, freedom fighter, and hinges. I'm looking forward to reading all of your sentences. This chapter is called Expert Colored Counting. Vanetta and Fern figured that since I talked my way inside Cecil's kitchen, I should fight harder for other things, namely to have a television set in the house. It was bad enough knowing our California vacation wasn't much to hang a back-to-school essay on. There were no Disneyland rides to write about, no Hollywood movie stars in the Safeway store to sign autographs, no surfing at the beach or shaking peaches or plums from fruit trees in the backyard. There wasn't even a long-lost mama hugging and crying at the airport. I soon saw my sister's point. The least we could have was a television set, cartoons on Saturdays, funny shows after dinner, the evening news, and true crime shows for me. And of course, the Mike Douglas show 5 days a week, because Mike Douglas always had Negro performers on his variety show. Outside of the flipper incident, we didn't fight over TV, which would mean less noise to bother Cecil. If she bought a portable TV set, we could put it in our room and she wouldn't have to see us for hours. Then it would feel like a real vacation. Watching hours and hours of Get Smart and the FBI without Big Ma making us turn the set off. Once again, I found my calm, steady voice and brought our demands to Cecil at our next sit-down dinner. That's what protesters did. They brought their protest songs and their demands to the establishment because the establishment was in control. The establishment was someone over 30 years old who had the power. I didn't know Cecil's exact age, but she had to be over 30. That, plus her holding on to the money Pa had given us, had made Cecil the establishment. All we needed were some protest signs and an or else that wouldn't make Cecil mad enough to hurt us. Without an or else, protesters are just people with protest songs and demands who don't stand a chance of getting anything. The only things Cecil seemed to care about were her poems and her peace and quiet. The only thing we seemed to care about was our television set. Armed with that, I brought up our sole demand and stood ready with our reasons, as if my Safeway S were pressed to my chest. She said, "No one needs a television set." "We do," I said. "Yeah, to catch our shows," Vanetta said. "Yeah," Fern said, "to catch our cartoons." "And the evening news," I threw in. You could practically see the whole world on the evening news. "And Mike Douglas." "That's right, we want Mike Douglas," my sisters chimed in. How else would we see Motown groups, James Brown or Aretha Franklin? The Mike Douglas show wasn't the only place to find colored people on television. Each week, Jet Magazine pointed out all the shows with colored people. My sisters and I became expert colored counters. We had it down to a science. Not only did we count how many colored people were on TV, we also counted the number of words the actors were given to say. For instance, it was easy to count the number of words the Negro engineer on Mission Impossible spoke, as well as the black POW on Hogan's Heroes. Sometimes the black POW didn't have any words to say, so we scored him a 1 just for being there. We counted how many times Lieutenant Uhura held the frequency on Star Trek. We'd even take turns being her, although Big Ma would have never let us wear a mini dress or space boots. But then there was I Spy. All three of us together couldn't count every word Bill Cosby said. And then there was a new show, Julia, coming in September, starring Diane Carroll. We agreed to shout out Black Infinity when Julia came on because each episode would be all about her character. We didn't just count the shows, we counted the commercials as well. We'd run into the TV room in time to catch the commercials with colored people using deodorant, shaving cream, and wash powder. There was a little colored girl on our favorite commercial who looked just like Fern. In fact, I said that little girl could have been Fern, which made Vanetta jealous. In the commercial, the little girl took a bite of buttered bread and said, "Gee, Ma, this is the best butter I ever ate." Then we'd say it the way she did, in her dead, expressionless voice, and we'd outdo ourselves trying to say it with the right amount of deadness. We figured that was how the commercial people told her to say it, not too colored. Then we'd get silly and say it every kind of colored way we knew how. We gave Cecil all of our reasons why she should have a television set in her green stucco house. We even showed her how it would give her peace of mind to do her work without us bothering her. To our reasons, the establishment said, television is a liar and a story, but we weren't ready to give up. The evening news comes on television, I said. That's all true because it's on the news. She grunted. And the weatherman gives the weather report. That's important too. Another grunt. And the monkeys do the monkey. Then Fern swung her arms up and down and bopped her head like a go-go dancer, pretending she was dancing to the musical group, the Monkees. Cecil made a "what" expression. Flummoxed. Good old Fern. Fern had managed to completely flummox the establishment. And then we started singing our protest song, chewing away at her peace and quiet. Here we come, walking down the street. Like Davy Jones, Mickey Dolenz, and the other singing monkeys. The next day, when we came back from the center, we found a radio in our room, the cord wrapped around its plastic body. It was a show-nuff, left by the garbage dump, second-hand radio. Vanetta and Fern squealed as if the little colored girl in the commercial were standing in our room eating buttered bread. They were thrilled. The next chapter is called Civic Pride. We'd been learning about civics since the first grade. There was always a field trip to the fire station on Henry Street. We watched the same film about the firemen, policemen, and mayor who kept our community safe and orderly. The film's narrator reminded every boy from Ellis Carter to the Jameses, the Anthonys, and every other pants wearer that they too could grow up to be guardians of our community. We girls were reminded that we could look forward to becoming teachers, nurses, wives, and mothers. Poets were never mentioned. At the center, we had a civics lesson. We were being taught our rights as citizens and how to protect those rights when dealing with the police. Sister Makumbu used the word policeman, while Crazy Calvin, who filled in for Sister Pat, preferred to say the racist pig. He broke our rights down step by step as if there was no time to lose. Any given day, a police car could stop my sisters and me on our way from the Safeway market and search our bag of groceries. We had to be armed with our rights. As the lesson went on, it seemed like all Crazy Calvin wanted was to get us to call the police the pigs. He started with Hirohito. My man, Hirohito, who knocked down your door and arrested your father? Hirohito's face fell to the table. He looked worse than when Sister Makumbu asked him to revolve and spin around the sun. He picked at a flaky piece of skin on his thumb. Normally, I would think, ew, nasty boy, how disgusting. Instead, I felt sorry for him with Crazy Calvin poking at him. Hirohito answered, the police? Crazy Calvin said, the who? Hirohito said, the Oakland police. That wasn't good enough for Crazy Calvin, whom we had to call Brother Calvin in the classroom. He looked like a bony, big-beaked chicken going, the who? The who? It was like the time he shouted, black girl, at my sisters and me, while we shouted back, colored girl. It didn't take sharp eyes to see Sister Makumbu was annoyed with her helper, and as usual, stepped in to put an end to it. Crazy Calvin was supposed to talk to us about our rights, not to stand there going, the who? The who? Big-beaked Crazy Calvin wasn't done. He said, the pigs broke down the door of a Vietnam War hero's house. The pigs handcuffed him without respect for his rights as a citizen. The racist pigs then separated Brother Woods from his family because he dared speak the truth to the people. Hirohito tried to show no change in his face, but he was changing on the inside, where people change when they're sad or angry. He looked directly at me, then looked away. I felt like I was supposed to say something to him, but I didn't know what. Sister Makumbu thanked Brother Calvin for being our guest speaker and showed him to the door. Fern tugged the hem of my top. I don't like him. I surely don't. I glanced Eunice Ankton's way. I had just found out what she had meant when we were out by the water fountain, that Hirohito's father was in prison for speaking out to the people. Hirohito's father was what Sister Makumbu called a freedom fighter and a political prisoner. Although, now that I knew, I didn't find any satisfaction in having found out. Imagine to have your father sitting down eating dinner or shining his shoes while watching TV, to have your front door blown off its hinges and the police rush in, to see your father in handcuffs led away. Hirohito didn't have to imagine. He knew. I had been scared once, truly scared for Papa. It happened 2 summers ago. Big Ma had gone back to Alabama ahead of us to visit family and take care of her house. We had packed up the Wildcat and had driven down to Alabama so my sisters and I could stay there for the summer. We had been driving all day and all night. Talk about being a long way from home. If we needed to stop, we found a gas station or a nice colored family to open their home to us. As we drove deeper south, down dark highways and even darker back roads, I felt like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. I told myself, Delphine, we are no longer in Brooklyn. Papa had pulled the car off the road so we could catch a few hours of sleep. I remember Vanetta snoring on one side of me. Fern with Miss Patty Cake burrowed into my side. Somehow, I managed to find myself snoring with my sisters and Papa. Then there had been a loud rap against the window. Balls of flashlight ghosts had flown all around the back and front seats, all over our faces. It had been a state policeman. Papa had rolled down his window and shown the state policeman his license and said he was driving his girls down to see their grandma in Alabama. The state policeman hadn't offered directions. He hadn't called Papa Mr. Gaither or Sir or Citizen like the helpful police officer in our Civic Pride film. I heard what that state policeman called Papa. I heard it all right. I held on to Fern tight, afraid for Papa, afraid Papa might talk back or try to fight back. When we had arrived at Big Ma's, I had expected that Pa would have told Big Ma all about it, how we couldn't stop and pee anywhere we wanted to, how the state police had rapped on the window, what he had called to Papa, how Papa hadn't hauled back like Cassius Clay and socked the policeman's jaw into the next county. Papa could tell some stories. He speaks them so plain that you believe every word. I knew Papa would have entertained Big Ma. When Big Ma asked, how'd the trip go? Papa had said, we made it down sure enough. You know, Ma, same old, same old. He never told her what had happened with the police. Today's assignment to go along with One Crazy Summer is going to be summarizing. We've done summarizing before. It's when you take the information that you've learned in your story and kind of put it into your own words. To help you with that, I am including a worksheet that will help guide your writing. This is the worksheet that we've used before, where somebody wanted, but so then. And I'll give you an example. So you guys know I love to use Stone Fox as an example because we all love that story so much. So let's pretend that we had to fill out this summarizing sheet for Stone Fox. Here in box number 1, I am looking at somebody. That means, who are my characters? Who is the main character? Or sometimes you'll have main characters, more than one. So let's just say that my somebody for Stone Fox is going to be Willie. So here I would include Willie's name. Moving on to box number 2, wanted. What did my main character want? So what did Willie want in the story Stone Fox? He wanted money to help his grandfather pay their taxes that they owed on the house. Box 3. So something happened here in box 3. Willie wanted money to help pay the taxes, but there was no money. Grandfather was in bed, not working. Willie was a little boy who couldn't work, and so they had no money. Box 4. So what happened? We know that Willie didn't have any money because he was a little boy and could not work. So what did he do? He decided to enter the race so that him and Searchlight could try and win $500 in order to help grandfather pay the taxes. And last box, number 5. Then Searchlight, who had been running so fast and so hard, had a heart attack and died. But Willie still won the race because Stone Fox allowed him to cross the finish line before anyone else. And so as you can see, what I did was I used this worksheet just to help guide my writing. Now, of course, we are in 3rd grade now, so we are not going to just put one-word answers in each box. And of course, you don't have this worksheet there with you. So what you're going to do is put it into your own story form using your own words. You are going to write 1 page summarizing what happened in these 2 chapters that we read today. You are going to tell me who your main characters are. There could be 1, there could be more than 1. You're going to tell me something that they wanted, but what got in their way? So what did they do? Then what finally happened? Use it in story form. Please do not use word for word from the story. I want to hear your own brain thoughts. Let me know. Pretend that Mrs. Pickett did not read this story and you read it by yourself. And you have to summarize the information because there's not enough time for you to read every single word to me. How would you put it into your own words by letting me know what happened with your main characters? Please use this paper as a guide, but please do not use just one-word answers for each box. I am looking forward to hearing your summarizations.